Chapter 5, Life After the Revolution, a Political Religion. The Ayatollah Khomeini ordered those who deserted the army in the name of the revolution to return to their military positions. He wanted to strengthen the country's fighting forces. I also returned to my army post to answer to his command. I discovered that I was the only person who ran away from the garrison during the revolution. This seemed to gain me a great measure of fame and respect among my co-workers. The revolution had caused a break in the chain of command so that the military suffered difficulties imposing disciplinary action and implementing normal decision-making. Officially, we were expected to obey the orders of our superior officers and commanders. But now, we received orders informally from the local mullah whose authority trumped that of the officers. The revolutionary mindset was to dismiss top army officials or condemn them because of their loyalty to the Shah. The mullah believed the structure and values of the army were not an acceptable reflection of Islam, and everything was now expected to align itself with the religion. I did little but preach Islam while in the army. I also learned that our colonel, Sayyid Shirazi, was a very religious Muslim man, but had managed to keep his religious life a secret before the revolution. It was dangerous for army officers to practice their religion openly while under the Shah's rule. Colonel Shirazi had been able to establish a strong relationship with an influential local religious leader, the Ayatollah Tahiri. After the revolution, he connected to us revolutionaries and then became the middleman between us and the Ayatollah Tahiri. Ayatollah Tahiri led the religious men of the garrison, including myself, to meet Ayatollah Khomeini in Qom. Qom is the religious shrine where the Ayatollah Khomeini trained and first announced his opposition to the Shah in 1963 for the Shah's intolerance and friendliness towards America and Israel. The Ayatollah Khomeini chose Qom as his residence after the revolution because he promised Iranians that he and the mullahs would not get involved in politics but only attend to religious affairs. Khomeini's close companions, such as the Ayatollahs Rafsanjani and Khamenei, his successor, and a few others caused him to change his mind, and he later moved to Tehran. When we met Khomeini, we assured him of our zeal to convert Iran into a radical Islamic country, and that we were also ready to build the army of Allah, the Hezbollah, to establish the rule of Islam in Iran and abroad. Some of us, however, did not know the real meaning of Islamic rule practically. The Ayatollah Tahiri was our spokesman, and through him we tried to convince the Ayatollah Khomeini that we were skilled military men, ready to teach Iranians fighting techniques and terrorist and suicide tactics in order to send them to conquer and destroy all infidels, including Israel and the United States. The Ayatollah Tahiri was the most powerful mullah in Isfahan at that time, gaining his religious popularity in the typical manner. He was also one of the most influential religious leaders in Iran because he had amassed so many followers. Every clergy who becomes an Ayatollah has the authority to accumulate his own followers or imitators. His popularity meant that he had a say about everything in Iran, and his opposition could be very costly to both secular and religious leaders, especially to those who wanted to ignore his power. The Shah of Iran lost his power and the support of his people to Muslim clerics because of their great influence over the people throughout the kingdom of the Shah. The Shah aimed to lead people to adopt a Western lifestyle, but he did not know how to deal with Islam, which was against Western democracy. The mullahs took advantage of people's ignorance and stirred them against the Shah. Shortly after the revolution, however, the ruling Islamic government also lost much of its influence and popularity with Iranian citizens. Some of the more prominent Ayatollahs of the country were being ignored by the new ruling authorities. These Ayatollahs, who had many followers, criticized the government in the Islamic Republic of Iran. The Ayatollahs even went so far as to condemn the new regime's activities as anti-Islamic. However, the Ayatollah Tahiri led us to Qom with the underlying motive to spread the subtle news that Islam was a political religion and its mullahs more than secular people who ought to be active in politics and the Islamization of Iran and the world. This contradicted the early promise of the Ayatollah Khomeini, who had promised the separation of church and state and government. The Ayatollah Tahiri and other influential mullahs knew that the Ayatollah Khomeini had used the Islamic doctrine of taqiyya, the pious deception, to hide his plan for theocracy since the start of the revolution. He did this to incite people against the Shah in order to attain power. Now, he was in power and needed the mullahs, like Tahiri, to prepare the minds of the majority secular-minded people for the mullah's takeover. The Shah had fled the country by this time, and Khomeini's partisanship against the Shah was no longer enough to yoke us to Khomeini. He had to use different, deceptive tactics not only to protect himself from the consequences of his lies, but also to establish a law to punish those of us who did not want to tolerate them. The mullahs started to raise their voices, saying that without the political leadership of the Ayatollah Khomeini, the country might descend into chaos. Subtly and progressively, they convinced many Iranians that not only did the Ayatollah Khomeini deserve to be the supreme political leader in Iran, but also the sovereign leader, the Vilayet-e-Faqih, who would have absolute right over every citizen and indeed everything in Iran. While the radical mullahs were busy establishing themselves in Iran, another prominent clergyman, Ayatollah Hassan Lahuti, was working to establish a revolutionary army. Iran already had a powerful army, but Muslim leaders did not trust the commanders of an army who had once sworn their allegiance to the Shah. Also, a majority of army officers were trained as patriots in order to love their country and protect it against its enemies. Such patriotism is rejected in Islam. If a country is not ruled by Islam, both national pious Muslims and foreign pious Muslims have the right to attack secular Muslim patriots and capture the country. That is why so many committed Muslims in the world are in one way or another linked to Palestinian leaders and the Hezbollah. These radical Muslim groups were able to Islamize their people rapidly, destroy nominalism in their lands, and achieve great success in fighting against Israel. So for the Ayatollahs, the Muslim militias had to hold more power than the general army officers. Khomeini was also bent on taking over power in other countries, and this could only be accomplished through the establishment of a radically zealous band of fanatical Muslims, Hezbollah. As a result, the Ayatollah Lahuti called on the Ayatollah Tahiri to help him seek out skilled soldiers who also happened to be religious zealots. The Ayatollah Tahiri contacted Colonel Shirazi and asked him to take part in their plan to build this new army and to encourage like-minded Muslims to join up.